Hello, everyone. We want to welcome you to the Women in Bio MAPS program events. If you're new to the organization, Women in Bio is here to build a community of biotech professionals that provides mentorship and development opportunities for women at all stages of their careers. My name is Ahu Demir. I'm the chair of MAPS program under Women in Bio New York chapter. And MAPS stands for Mentorship, Advisors, Peers, and Sponsorship. We have launched our one-on-one mentoring program where we have members who range from students to all stages of women within their careers who are looking to develop one-on-one mentor-mentee relationships. If you're interested in hearing more details about the program, please reach out to me or refer to our website. In support of our mission, I would like to briefly introduce Joanna as our speaker. I will actually let her introduce herself. When I first met Joanna, what stuck with me was the importance of branding and how we tell our stories. And I'm very excited to learn from her how to rewrite and tell our stories and where we see ourselves in the future. And I thought that that's a great opportunity for us to hear from her and learn from today's workshop. Joanna, thank you very much for joining us, and I'll just pass it to you. I look forward to hearing what you have to teach us today. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. It's nice to see you again and thrilled to finally be here. I know we've been doing a lot of back and forth to get here today, and so amazing to see so many fabulous faces. Thanks for those of you that turned the camera on. For those of you that haven't, we would still like to see you because we're going to do a lot of interactivity and waving. And pro tip for everybody, there is going to be points where I'm going to ask for a volunteer. And if you haven't seen any of my work before, the advice everybody who has volunteered gives is volunteer. It's always a good thing. I know it's super scary. I know we don't give you a lot of context, but what I am known for is transforming just how do you answer the very simple question, what do you do? And let's just see how the interaction works. How many of you, and feel free to do this with the chat hand, are like, I love the way I answer the question, what do you do? We have one person? Yeah. Most people don't, which is why I'm a little obsessed with the question. And then when you start to unpack that question, what starts to happen and what questions you start to think about. So let me jump in, and I am going to ask you all, because we said, let's get this interactive, to get prepped for the first session. So I sent it in the chat, and Kylie is going to drop it there as well. Kylie is who introduced you all at the beginning. Just go to the chat or come here and go to slido.com and type in 96584, because we are going to be doing some surveys and questioning with you, which will help you understand some of the thinking. And we love to get this set up at the beginning. You can do this on your phone, on your computer, whatever's easy for you. Awesome. I will let you get that going and start. So, what is the big idea here? And why do I think it's important? And why, especially as brilliant women, do I need for us to start thinking about this? This idea that every decision made about you and your opportunities is made in a room that you're not in. I know. Thought about that the first time I thought about it, and I was like, wait, what? Hang on a second. Wait, I have to think about this? Yes, absolutely, you do. Because here's the thing. Every interaction you have with another human being, there's a little voice in their head when you are talking to them going, ooh, who is this person? Do I want to know them? Do I want to continue this conversation? There's probably also a voice in your head about the other person going, oh, who is this person? Do I know them? Do I want to have a conversation? And that's just at the introductory phase. The reality is we continue this conversation throughout our relationships with people, both personally and professionally. And we've all met that person that we've all gone, oh my God, they are amazing. I am now going to very uncreepily stalk them and make them be my new BFF. We've also had the not so awesome situation where we thought we were up for the promotion or would get put on the project or would get the job, and we didn't. And we were like, wait a second, what happened there? Well, the bad news is a decision was made in a room that you're not in. So, okay, what does all of this mean? It makes me ask the first couple of questions. So if this is true, it is, because you have made decisions about people in rooms they are not in. It asks a couple of questions. So first, and let's do this within the context of your careers, because that's what we're talking about here. Are you part of the consideration set? Does the room who is making decisions about you even know you exist? Here is pro tip number one. And if you haven't learned this in your career so far, I'm about to bum you out a tiny bit. Just being excellent at your job and doing the work does not mean they are having a conversation about you in the room that you're in and that you're in the consideration set. Because how to be part of the conversation in the room that you're in means that there is somebody in there who knows how to talk about why you are uniquely valuable. Who are you? What is it you do? All of those good sorts of things. So when you're thinking about this very simple statement, the question I always ask people is, do you have somebody in the room who knows your unique value? And I know that sometimes in my own career, I didn't. Worse, sometimes I forgot that people would be in the room who maybe didn't have the best version of what it is I wanted people to say about me in rooms that I was not in. And I'll actually be super upfront. Part of why I am here today is I had a job, 5 years ago, working for a very cool, fun startup. And I had been there for nearly 3.5 years. The team and I had done amazing work. We'd seen unbelievable growth. Things were fantastic. And then a new CEO joined the company, which if I had learned my own lessons, I would have paid attention, because what was great for me in the earlier part of my career, and I was the VP of whatever the title was, had a really big team. We had delivered a lot of things. And I had an amazing relationship with the former CEO. I'd actually put him in my mentor sponsor category. I still have that relationship today. The new CEO started and I was part of the executive team, and I forgot to re-audition for my job. I forgot that while he was curious about all of the things that we had accomplished at the company, what he wanted to know was, what was my vision? How was I looking forward? How was I thinking about where the company should go? I just talked about all of the stuff that we'd done when I met with him, and I didn't talk about the things that I thought we needed to do. And so the conversation he had in his head was, well, Joanna's done some really amazing work here and I'm super grateful, but I need a team of people who will take us into the future. And so the message came back to me saying, well, we think somebody else needs to take the team into the future. And so we had all sorts of awesome conversations about what that would look like and where it would land. And ultimately, we made the collective decision that it was time for me to leave. Now, I will also be perfectly honest. Did I have a clear and specific vision of where I thought the team should go in the future? Absolutely not as clear as the one that I had when I very first started with this company. Could I have thought one up? Absolutely. But the reality for me, as I really started to unpack all of it, is that my tenure at the company was over, because we also date an opportunity, we do not marry it, which means there is a beginning, a middle, and an end. And actually thinking about who you are and what it is you want to do at the beginning of an opportunity and the end of an opportunity is important. And it was that process, and I will tell you, I was not as healthy about talking about my exit from the company when it actually happened, because I was heartbroken. But once I really started thinking about it, I really started to get obsessed about this question and this whole idea of what is it you are known for, and really the idea of the fact that people purchase when you are hired, when you are put on a project, when you are promoted, your vision in the future. They're actually looking at the future you and saying, who is this person and who is that going to be? Now, is it justified by what you've accomplished in the past? Absolutely, all day. But it's this future you that is ultimately who we are purchasing, renting, all of the words that we are actually connecting with. And as I started to look at that for people in the workplace, I was like, wow, hang on a second. When you look at the language, when you look at the measurement, when you look at how we talk about ourselves in the workplace, we talk about our past. Our resume is a history of who we are. We talk about our accomplishments. We talk about our KPIs. We don't as much, unless we're in a strategic planning meeting or doing some sort of annual budget process, actually talk about our future selves. And I sit here and I say, if that's the person that everybody is constantly hiring, then why aren't we talking about that person? Why aren't we sharing who that is? Because if I asked any one of you to start thinking about who was the last person that you met and you went, oh my God, I totally want to hang out with them, it's because you're intrigued about who the future person is, justified by what it is you've learned all day. And I am going to say this because there's a room full of awesome lady people. We have been taught over millennia as women that it is, for lack of a better term, unfeminine to brag, unfeminine to put us out there. And we are often taught to wait to be chosen. And we are rewarded throughout our schooling and or the early part of our career that the work that you have done, your deliverables, is actually the result, as opposed to what is the future vision. And just to, like, how many of you have seen, I'm going to say this, some guy get promoted because he was just him and his actual deliverables weren't that impressive? Like, we've all seen that. We've all seen that at least once. Now, I'm hoping, because you're in bio and maybe a little bit of academia, but there's some actual merit work going on in there. But the reality is that is not even true as well. We also live in a country, which is fantastic and awesome, where charisma and personality out-skew why decisions are made by people and all of those sorts of things. And so I sit here and I say, okay, this makes for a kind of an unfair playing field for women, because A, we're taught not to say things, which means we're out of practice. And B, there's this weird, who do you know, what are you known for, charisma thing that is also a reality in the workplace that isn't based on merit. And so I say, okay, how is it we need to move forward? How do you actually take agency about this? Because here's the thing, you can be mad about it. You can get all pissed off, which I frequently do. And then I go, okay, being angry doesn't actually change anything. Or you can choose to say, you know what, the rule book of the past, this whole, I am going to be rewarded for just the merit thing, is clearly not serving me. And I'm going to tear the whole thing up, throw it out the window, maybe even set fire to it, and start playing by the rules of the real working world. And that's really what I want to show you how to do, and how to think about how do you navigate through this. Now, I'm going to caveat, because a lot of you are like, well, hang on a second, I don't want to sell myself out. I don't want to do something that is unethical. I'm not asking you to do that. I'm also not asking you to change who you are in any way, shape, or form. Because here's what I believe. The clearer about who you are, how you add value, and what it is you need to be able to drive your vision forward, the easier it is for people to say yes to you. I'm going to say that again. The clearer you are about who you are authentically, how you want to drive a vision forward, and make it easy for people to understand how to say yes to you, the more that they will. I will absolutely own, and I have been a woman in technology for most of my career, that for much of my career, I tried to be somebody who I thought they wanted me to be, as opposed to who I really am, with all of the sequins and crazy that comes with the package of who I am. And when I was true to who I am, what my vision was, and what I needed from organizations and from people, the more likely they were to say yes. When I showed up as somebody else or tried to be somebody I wasn't, well, that's when things started to get a little wonky. Okay, so big ideas to start with. How do we then start fixing it? Because as you will see, I am all authentic every day. Oh, and one last thing, only because I am a lot and I am considering my audience. I'm also not asking you to be sequins and crazy like I am. I am a hugely extroverted, bouncy, and loud person, but that is true to who I am. I think about who is an authentic person. So one of my favorite people runs sports for Twitter, and she is, I'm not sure I'd actually call her introverted, but she is much quieter and much more subtle and much more gentle in her approach, but it is authentically her. And she is super clear about who she is and her vision, and people buy her for her. And that's the definition, is actually figuring out who that person is. Okay, so how do you start thinking about this? First of all, I want to share this first idea is you already have a personal brand. I get this question a lot. People are like, oh, do you help people figure out what their personal brand is? And I was like, well, no, I actually help them figure out what it is today. Because the reality is decisions are being made about you in rooms that you're not in, which means people are already saying things about you today. And I want to do a quick exercise with you to show you what I'm talking about. So I want you all to pull up the Slido link that I sent you guys. And we are going to start the first interactive exercise. So I would love you all to share a little bit of what you think your personal brand is today. So type in single words that describe you. And if you see a word on the screen that you're like, oh, yeah, that's me too, go ahead and type it in again, because we're going to do the magic of word clouds. What I'm curious to find out is what is the winning word of this group? We've got creative and strategy are leading the pack. I'm not surprised analytical. I would hope so for women in bio. That's fantastic. Reliable. We're going to see if there's any. Oh, I love that cheeky is on there. Somebody is being truly authentic in their submissions. Detail-oriented, diplomatic, robust. Ooh. Now that makes me, this is what I'm saying. Do you notice what I'm doing here? I'm finding words, feisty. Well, see, these are the ones that relate to me. Just note, I am making decisions about people who are in the room technically, but based on one word that has been typed on a screen, because in this world of how people respond to you, what is really fascinating is that while it's about you, while, and I'm going to find, I've lost some of the other fun words because some of the big words are winning out. Like feisty is something I really relate to. And so I want to know who that person is. So those words about you, when you're sharing them with people, are actually not about you. They're about how the other person reacts to them. It's this really interesting dynamic. We live and work in a double-sided marketplace where you and the other person get to choose. Okay, I think we've got some winning words here. Feel free to keep sending them in if you would like to, but it looks like the big winners today are reliable and organized. They are awesome words. I am super happy that all of you are reliable and organized. But here's the thing. I want you to, for just a second, to think about the most amazing situation. Congratulations, you have just been promoted into your dream project. And in that promotion, it means you need to stop what you are doing today and hire somebody to replace you. Now, all of the people who replace you, in your analysis of them, when you're looking at what it is they need to bring to the table in the way of skills, both soft and hard skills, experience, and et cetera, how high on the list are reliable and organized? Are they at the very top and therefore requirements for the job? Or are they non-standout words? My guess is they actually fit in both categories. Here's the thing, and I see this a lot. This comes back to this idea that as women, we are rewarded for, in essence, getting things done throughout both our education and our early career. Being known as reliable and organized are what I call table stakes language. These are words that if you were not reliable and organized, you would probably get fired from your job. What people want to, that is telling a story of the things that you accomplished, your past, as opposed to things that you are going to do. And think about people that you like, if you sit here and say, like, who do I admire in a really big way? So I know recently I've been following the Twitter activity on Ruth Bader Ginsburg being in and out of the hospital for an infection. My heart stopped there for a second when I first learned about it. Glad to hear she's out. My guess is she is also unbelievably reliable and organized. But would anybody actually use those words? Well, maybe reliable, but for a very different context. Would you use those words ultimately to describe her at the end of the day? Trailblazer, visionary, ethical, lots of other words. Although as a lawyer, I would say ethical will be one of the words that one would have as a table stakes language for a lawyer too. But what are the words that one would use to describe people? And we tend to use the generic ones to describe ourselves, which is not telling a story of your future and is actually just telling a story of who you are. So my first challenge to all of you, as you are thinking about conversations about you in rooms that you're not in, as you're thinking about what story do I want to tell about the future me, I challenge you to figure out what words do you want people to say about you. Now, there's a very easy way. If you're all like, well, I have no idea. There's a very easy way of figuring out. Ask people. In this working world, you remember how I said we are buying, selling our time? That time in the future is the product that you are selling to people. Now, whether you get paid for it or not in some cases is a whole different conversation, which we can have on another day. And Kylie, can we mute all the mics real quick? We've got somebody off mic that's making a little bit of a sound, which is a bit distracting for folks. And now I've got to get back. There we are. So how are you thinking? So go ask them, because if you go out and ask people what words they would use to describe you, especially those folks who are fans of you, they're going to tell you. Now, do not let them get away with the generic. So if they come back and say, you're really great at getting things done, you're really reliable, you're really organized, you're a strategic thinker, you're detail oriented, all of those words fit in that table stakes, go, hey, thanks, that's amazing. I really appreciate it. But what I really want to know is not just why am I good at strategy? Why am I reliable? But how am I? Like, what is it about that that is useful to you in the future? And start doing some market research on yourself. We have programming here at the Amplify Lab where we actually handhold people through the process because it's a little different. And almost everybody is surprised by the results they get. Because we rarely actually go out and do market research about what people are saying about us. Now, do you have to go out and talk to thousands of people? Absolutely not. But do you need to go out and do research about who you are as a product? I really think it's an important thing to do in this modern working world. Okay, so coming back to this idea. So you have a personal brand. I would rather it not be about things you've done in the past, because here's a new Joanna quote. If you are known, oh, I'm about to swear, for getting shit done, and you think that is your value, well, guess what, ladies? Here's the other thing. Get shit done, girls, get given shit to do. They don't get to be the strategic decision makers in the room, making the vision about what it is we should be doing. This is the big shift from being known for accomplishing things and being known for vision. So really start to shift your language there. Okay. Next big idea is the other piece. Your resume is no longer serving you. So I've already talked about doing market research. The next idea I want to share with you is that you should think about what are the marketing materials of you. Now, the marketing materials of you are how you show up every day. They are how you communicate and engage with people. They're your LinkedIn profile. They're your social media handles if you have them. They're papers that you might write. They are content that you produce. And then last but not least, they are also your resume. It is the 21st century, folks. The resume was created for a world that used people like machines. And if we look at all resumes and specifically how they are used in the working world today, people look at them for, on average, about 6 to 8 seconds, which if you think about how many words is on that thing, that's not a lot of time. Really, all they're doing is scanning your headline, and then they are brand scanning about where it is you have worked and or gone to school. Worst case, they're actually uploading your resume into an applicant tracking system if you're in the job search, which means they are literally scanning for keywords. And pro tip here, I was talking with another group and learned that the super smart kids are taking the job description that is posted, copying it, changing the font to white, shrinking it down, pasting it onto their resume so that when it is uploaded into the applicant tracking system, every keyword in the job description is showing up within the applicant tracking system, which means they are gaming the keywords to get into the consideration set of resumes, but that's all it is. And while yes, absolutely, we live in a world where you still need to have a resume, I want you to really start thinking about what are the marketing materials that I am creating for myself to tell my story. Now, does it mean you need to start a website? Does it mean you need to do a whole bunch of stuff? It depends on your situation. It depends on what it is you are trying to accomplish. But we all have the opportunity to actually start telling a story about ourselves, and we do it every single day. And I actually want to have a quick conversation about how we do it on LinkedIn. Think about what does your profile look like? And I've talked to tons of recruiters and managers, and they're, again, scanning. They're looking at your photo, they're looking at your headline, and then they are brand scanning down the side. And I sit here and I go, okay, so if they're just looking at that photo, because a picture tells 1,000 words, right? Is that photo telling a story about who you are and what it is you want to be known for? And I always go back to a couple of years ago, I was talking about this idea with a room full of lawyers. And one of the women in the room, who is now the general counsel of a very fancy startup in Denver, whose LinkedIn profile was, you know, your standard upper body shot, but she was wearing a strapless top. And so basically it looked like she had no clothes on. And I said to her, I was like, good Lord, I said, you have aspirations of being a general counsel and you're a lawyer, and yet this is the picture that you want to tell the story about you within a professional setting. And she very quickly went out and changed it. I also think about the canvas of your background. Like, can you tell a story? Like, I think about that last exercise on what is the keywords that you want to describe you. Why not put those words up there? Start telling the story immediately, because it's a very subtle and very easy way for people to start knowing who you are. So whoever wrote, well, maybe not feisty. No, you could certainly put that in your about. But whoever was actually letting their personality show, like, why not let it show across everybody? Because you do need to start telling a story about you, and it shouldn't be just your resume. I'm also, just because I'm talking to a bunch of scientists, about to give you one last math thing about a resume. I don't have the most updated data, but there were 17.5 billion resumes submitted in the United States of America in 2017. What that means, if you do the backwards math, is over 200 applications were submitted for every single job that actually exists, which basically means the math is off. Well, it doesn't mean the math is off. The math is actually correct, but it means that submitting a resume for an opportunity, unless it is literally being put in the hands of a decision maker, isn't actually serving you, because you are now in competition with a zillion other people. It's a really horrifying number, and I am on a bit of a warpath to make sure that the resume gets updated, because again, it only tells your history story. It doesn't tell your future. Okay, last thing, if you haven't already heard this, self-promotion, while I get that it is really hard to do, is not a dirty word. If people don't know who you are and why you're valuable, you're not even giving them an opportunity to choose you. Here's another data point that I want to share with you, as I have got a room full of women. In the world of straight people, the cultural norm is that the man does the choosing. You know, I am clearly quite a lot. And yet, when my husband went down on one knee to ask me to marry him, he did the asking. I didn't, because that's what we do, right? It also means, and I've done the math on this, by the time a straight guy is 30, he has 500% more experience asking for what it is he wants than a woman. And so I sit here and I go, well, hang on a second, what does this all mean? Well, first of all, I say, okay, this means that we are now a little bit out of practice and need to practice promoting our ideas, asking for things, getting out in front more, because we're behind from a cultural standard just within the dating construct. Second of all, it also doesn't surprise me that we get research back saying that we get dinged a little for asking for what it is we want and going out and positioning ourselves for opportunities, because it's not culturally the norm. We're not used to it. And, you know, when you're sitting across from a table from a guy who's saying, do I give you this opportunity? You're changing that dynamic. And the dynamic of asking for something in the future is almost the same as dating in a weird sort of way. And so I sit here and say, like, how do you think about how to do that in a way that takes you right up to that line of self-promotion without moving into the land of bragging and, well, all of the stuff that we don't like. And so as you're thinking about this, you have to learn how to explain to people who you are and why you're awesome in a way that really maximizes your opportunity, but understands the dynamic, because every interaction has context. Okay, so I know you're all like, wait, what? Hang on a second, how do I do all of this? I want to shift from talking to you all and actually show you what I'm talking about and how you can really transform how you talk about yourself and how to talk about the future you. So you just saw Cinderella come up on the screen. I am now going to put on my fairy godmother cap and pull out my wand, because I would like one of you to volunteer to be my Cinderella in this scenario. Because let's talk about our little friend Cinderella. Here's the thing. All the fairy godmother did to Cinderella was say, oh, you want to get to the ball so you can dance with a prince? Well, let's do a little reality check, young lady. They are not even going to let you pass the front gate if we do not sort out this outfit and get you a fly ride. Like, you won't even get to the ballroom floor in this situation. The fairy godmother did not say, you need to change who you are. She did not say you need fixing in any shape or form. She was like, you are awesome. Just the packaging around you is not allowing people to choose you. This is the same thing. So who is up for having a little bit of a Cinderella moment? Either put your hand up in the chat or just wave on the screen for people to see you. Kylie, did we get anybody in chat?
Not in chat, but we have, I'm not sure what your name is, but the bio says Woman in Bio Texas. I saw you raise your hand. You can unmute yourself.
Women in Bio Texas. Oh, yes, I see you. Here, we're gonna, hello, there you are. So can we get a real name to go with Women in Bio Texas?
Yes, my name is Jolene Glenn. I live in Austin.
Oh, well, former Austinite, go Horns, and all of that good sort of stuff. I actually went to high school in San Marcos. How random is that? Former, not in Texas anymore. Okay, so first step in this process is I need to understand what is your ball, because I'm guessing you don't want to go to a ball and marry a prince. You have other bigger, better plans to go. So why, step one, why do you need a better answer to the question, what do you do? Why do you need to teach people who is the future you?
Well, admittedly, I'm still figuring that out. So I'm actually trying to transition into software engineering from bench science. So I don't have a job right now, but I am volunteering with Women in Bio and I am teaching myself Python. So
okay,
to answer your question, I guess I'm still working on what that vision will look like. I want to help solve problems, and that's why I think software engineering would be really interesting, because it would, usually you use a piece of software because you have an input and you want an output. And so I want to help problem solve how to, first of all, I like the idea of knowing what's going on behind the scenes. And so I want to be able to solve that puzzle.
Okay, so you've already given me some really interesting insights already, just in what you have. So now I know what your ball is. Here's my second question. So obviously we have just met, but let's just pretend we are post-COVID crazy. We're actually, let's just pretend we're on a Zoom call and everybody's doing the introduction to everybody. So if you were required to introduce yourself to this room, which actually you are now required to do, I want to benchmark it. How would you introduce yourself to this room today? I need a before.
A before?
Yes. So, hi, I'm Jolene. What would you say?
I'm Jolene. I live in Austin, Texas. I volunteer for Women in Bio. I'm the co-chair of the MAPS program. And I'm currently teaching myself Python. I don't have what I would usually say. Actually, Ahu can attest for this. I met with her. I would say I don't have a job right now because I'm trying to teach myself Python.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so ladies, you are going to have to put your kindness for a second, and I need to be sweet to this person, in our back pocket, because I need you to give Jolene some real honest feedback about her introduction. So I'm gonna let you do this collectively on the poll. Based on what Jolene just said in her introduction, on a score from 1 to 10, we're gonna give her a Net Promoter Score. How excited would you be to meet her? 1 being, yeah, not so much. 10 being, oh my God, holy crap, we are going to be besties immediately. We are getting votes in. Want to see any more come in? Couple more. Oh, nothing I love more than a graph. Nothing I love more than math. So we are ending up at about a 4.8, 5-ish maybe, 4.8. Well, so Jolene, here's the good news. You are right smack dab on average on how people come in there. So don't feel too bad, but how do you feel about that score?
Sounds about right.
I'm assuming we want a bit of an improvement on that, because like really you all want to be up in the like the 9-10 range, especially if you're trying to get a job, right? Here's the other thing, and I want to this is why when I do work with people on all of this, and we do have, not surprisingly, all sorts of programs and experiences where we can help you with this, but everybody's before is about a 5. The context and the why you need to make the change is unbelievably individual, and we understand that. But my guess is there's some other folks on this call who are also trying to pivot their career or try and get a new job or something like this. And so this is a really great example. And so let's unpack what it is you actually need to happen for people to understand your vision in the future is, you know, so I talked about how your resume is no longer serving you. In your case, your resume really actually doesn't help you because it's telling the story of a bench scientist, right? Now, I am going to totally own that I have no idea what a bench scientist does, but I'm making a general assumption there. I'm sure it's fantastic. And I'm actually curious, but we don't want to talk about her. What you need people to do is see how the work that you did as a bench scientist would make sense in the world of a software engineer. What they actually need to find out is that the way you thought here, your unique thinking operating system, actually could work in the world of software engineering so that you form a bridge between your past and the future that you want. And this is the thing, folks. Again, I come back to what do we buy from each other? We buy our ability to think in the future. That is actually the product that we are getting from people. So I sit here and I go, how do you teach them that? So within the construct, and you've already talked about inputs and outputs and like solving puzzles and things like that. But I do for just a second, because I do need to look at your past and what you were good at. I do want you to talk about why you were good at what you did in your past. So I need you to shed all of the, have you always been from Texas? Are you a Southerner at heart? Okay, good. Because I know there's a whole extra set of rules there. But I need you to shed what your mom said and said, do not brag, it's rude. But I need you to brag for a second. Like, why were you, as a bench scientist, ridiculously good at what you do? Go.
Well, I definitely fell into that organized and reliable category.
Well, we know we can't talk about those.
We can't talk about those. Why? So the question is why?
Yeah.
Why? What made me a good? So I will explain to you that I was in research in biotech, and I actually was at the bench doing the protocols and the experiments.
Okay.
Versus say designing them, for example.
That's okay.
Yeah. So what made me great at that in terms of for the future?
Well, no, just like, so if I was going to interview people who knew you and said, why is Jolene really good at what she does? What do you think they would say?
I think they would say because she tries to make the protocol most effective and efficient, and may even think of ways to design it in a way that it could save time or resources.
Okay. And I noticed, just because it popped up, and Kylie, if you can go read it, Paula, who is obviously a fan of yours, has given some feedback. I always love it when this happens. Kylie, can you read out what Paula said about why Jolene was great?
Yeah, so Paula says she was great in the past because she was a problem solver, and she was great because she saw the big picture and translated it into daily work.
Okay.
We also have from
and
Bridget,
I'm saying she's fearless.
fearless.
Like, clearly you have some fans on this call, which is awesome. This is why, folks, I know when I said in the earlier part of the conversation, I was like, go out and do some market research about yourself. People are awesome. People are unbelievably awesome and are more than generous to give you that information. And you see, we're getting even more in from Paula. Like, there is nothing more fun than being able to explain to somebody else why they are uniquely awesome. It's just the most delightful exercise. And think about it, like, I mean, this is in essence what I get to do as the fairy godmother and potentialist for everybody, is I get to tell people why they're amazing, which I sit here and I go, like, I get paid to tell people that they are amazing for a living. Like, couldn't be a better job on the planet. And you think also about who that do, like, we all have that person in like either grade school or high school who saw something in you and said, God, you know, you could be amazing at. And we all had that person. I know I had several of them. I still have several of them. But that person who gave us a little bit of an idea of who we could be. I call them potentialists because they see often a future that you can't see. They do that because they do see the opportunity in you and they want you to be the very best of you. And so if you're having any nervousness about going out and asking people why you are uniquely awesome, I always sit here and say, think about how great it feels to give somebody else the feedback, and think about how grateful you've been when you've been able to tell somebody else their potential. It's an amazing thing to do. And yeah, I just wish we all did this more. But you have given me enough to give you a slightly different introduction that specifically, remember the goal. So Jolene's ball in this scenario is not to go dance with the prince. She wants to go dance with a company that needs software engineers specifically who want people who can code in Python, which I do understand. And her job is to bridge that language. So let me also caveat that what I'm about to do is my party trick for group calls like this. It is a demo, which means I am weirdly good at putting jazzy language together. When you do this throughout any of our program, we actually dig a little deeper than just the 3 minutes of information, Jolene, that I got from you. But here, this is just to demonstrate how you can think differently. So you could say, so somebody just, I'm now going to play the role of you for a second. I am now introducing, so hi, I'm Jolene, and I am in a transition. As a former bench scientist, my goal is to transition into software engineering. And I do that because of a couple of key things. I believe that the opportunity to make something more effective and efficient is always an opportunity to make something better. How do you optimize it? How do you look at all of the detail to actually accelerate an idea forward? And when I think about the inputs and outputs of code, those are the key things that it's trying to do. Now, doing that while also looking at the big picture and how one thinks about the vision of what the future could be, while also thinking about the detail of the input and output, is actually how you should think about bringing code together. And so I'd like to bring my experience as a bench scientist combined with my recent education on how to code in Python and bring this vision of inputs and outputs and operational efficiency along with understanding the big picture to an organization who's looking for people like me. How does that feel? Is that better?
That was amazing. I wish I was recording that.
Well, the good news is we recorded it.
Oh, great.
And we will be downloading this video and getting it up on YouTube. And so you'll be able to go back and re-listen to the whole thing. But I want to, because I know some of you are like, wait a second, what just happened here? So first of all, I know Jolene already feels better about it. I need feedback on how did I do, because, you know, it's about me at the end of the day. Thinking about that second introduction, how excited would you be to learn more about Jolene now? And or how much easier, and this is the key thing, how much easier is it for you to understand who she is and what it is she wants in the future and how potentially you could help her? That's the big difference. It's not only are you all like, oh, who is that person? But it's also, you now know, all of you, how to bridge from being a bench scientist, specifically Jolene's bench science approach, to being a software engineer? 8.3, 8.4. That's pretty good. I hope you all see the really big difference. Okay, I want to very briefly unpack what I did there, because what I did was very simple. Because just out of curiosity, Jolene, did that feel like, if you said, I know it was a lot, I said a lot. Did that feel like if you said it out loud, you would be bragging about yourself?
No.
No,
No.
because what I did there is, instead of coming out and going, I am awesome, I am this, I am blah, 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 which sounds awful and totally braggy, is I talked about the problem that needed to be solved. I talked about what is the idea and then what is the solution to it. So the problem that needs to be solved is this whole efficiency and big picture thing, which were the two things. Like when I was listening to Jolene talk about, she used the word input and output, she used effective and efficient, she used optimization, she used big picture. I took all of those words, which are hers, which makes them authentic, and actually set up an idea up at the front and said, like, if you've got this kind of an idea, this problem, then you need this solution. And by the way, I am the solution. So that when we all hear it, we go, I get that idea. I like that solution. I like you. Because that is the way that we buy and sell everything. This is like marketing 101. If I'm guessing I don't have any marketers on the call, but if we did, I would be able to say that they would be fired if they talked about the features of the products that they were selling. They are actually taught to talk about how a product, even if it's something as mundane as hand cream, they would be fired if they talked about the ingredients or the features. What they talk about is the problem that it solves for the consumer. Same thing for human beings. And if you actually think about people that you've met, again, it's your reaction to their future that they are responding to. Now, Jolene, if you want to take it to a next level, here's the other thing on marketing that I think is really important for people to understand. It's this idea that frequency around how you describe yourself is how you teach your network who is the future you. A really great example, I don't know anybody. I should have thought about somebody in the biotech world. But if I said, what is Sheryl Sandberg known for? For a very long time, she was known as Lean In, right? She is to a certain extent. I think that's actually starting to get a little damaged now with everything that's going on with Facebook. But she's known for the words lean in because she said them over and over and over and over and over and over and over again for a really long period of time. Now, am I saying you need to write a book and start a foundation? Absolutely not. But am I saying that when you're teaching your network who you are and what it is you want to be known for, you have to do it more than once because frequency matters. There's actually, and because I'm with a bunch of scientists, going to give you the math. In the world of advertising, the average for media is that if you want to sell a new idea or a product to somebody, and this is really important if you're in that transition piece too, you actually have to show the product to a person at least 7 to 15 times. This is why, super sorry folks, when you have seen that lovely pair of shoes on a website somewhere, they seem to follow you around on the internet like a crazy person because the marketer is trying to increase the frequency of you seeing that product. You just got insight into the ag technology space, which is kind of weird on one of my past areas of expertise. But that's why you see a product over and over again. It's why you hear the same ads on the radio or on the TV or on your YouTube channel or wherever it is. That is the bar they are trying to do because they are trying to teach you about that product. So if you are in a teaching phase, then you need to do that. So think about that as you're trying to figure out, how do I take agency about conversations in rooms that I am not in? And I know a lot of you, I know in our example, Jolene is actually looking for a job. A lot of people go, well, if I'm not looking for a job, I don't have to worry about this. Well, I told you the story about how basically I was fired because I didn't do it, which I wouldn't want for any of you guys. But it is as much about today as it is this future state of what is going to be your next opportunity, because we're always on that path. And does that mean you need to go out and do this all day, every day? No. But does it mean that step one on this journey, when I think about that benchmarking exercise that I talked about at the beginning, that you should actually find out what people are saying in rooms that you're not in, then you can decide whether you're like, whoa, wait a second, I need to go on a teaching exercise. And I love to share the story of one of the people who did this with me. It was actually an employee at SurveyMonkey. She took my advice to heart and said, well, I work at SurveyMonkey, I should send out a survey. And so she created a very simple survey to send out to the SurveyMonkey organization with the very simple questions of what was she known for and what words would people use to describe her, and then had the courage to send it to every single employee, including the CEO of SurveyMonkey, who didn't know who she was from Adam. And we spoke about her experience afterwards, because I was like, wow, that was a really brave thing to do. And she said, the day she started getting the survey results back was literally the best day of her life. She said it was like the best birthday ever, because lots of people were saying how amazing she was. And that was really wonderful. B, it did actually create a relationship with the CEO of SurveyMonkey, because he was like, wow, who is this person and what are they doing? Which has now transformed her career, because now there is somebody with immense amount of influence about decisions in rooms that she was not in. And then C, and I thought this was the most insightful piece, she said the words that came back were wonderful, but they weren't who she wanted to be known for. And so she's now spent the last couple of years actually almost rebranding herself and teaching her people about how she can be a much more strategic player in the organization. And I will tell you, her career has skyrocketed from, I couldn't be prouder. So really think of being about beyond just the, I need a new job, that this can be an ongoing conversation for you as you manifest your career. So market research, step one. What is that thing that is unique and compelling about you is step two. And then actually going out and teaching your network is step three. These are the key pieces to do. So I am going to stop as we're almost at the top of the hour and I'm almost running out of time, and say, if this intrigued you and you're like, oh my God, I want more, I'd love to invite you all. We do a live show every Friday at noon. I talk about all sorts of different topics about how to navigate this new future working world, especially in this time of COVID when things are really changing in a really big way. There are toolkits and prizes and worksheets and all sorts of good stuff that comes with it. Actually, every show, one person gets their name pulled out the hat for a free hour one-on-one with me. I'd love to see you all on social media or subscribe to the newsletter, because we are constantly sharing new information about this. But so come find us there. But I'd love to, in the last minute or so, and for those that want to hang out, because we don't have to rush off, hear if anybody has any questions. Kali, did we have any come through chat as we were waiting?
Not in the chat so far, no.
Joanna, I see a hand going up. You want to unmute yourself?
Yes, hi.
Hi.
Hi. So I have a question. You made a wonderful description out of what you heard, right?
Mm-hmm.
But do you think it was a bit longer than an elevator pitch?
Yes, because I was having to do it on the fly. Did it need a bit of editing? For sure. However, this idea of that an elevator pitch needs to be a certain length is actually a made up rule. Like, who said it needs to be there? Does it need to be concise and to the point? Absolutely. But if you are like Jolene, I was trying to see where she was on the screen. Jolene needs a job. And if it takes her maybe another 10 or 20 seconds to tell her story, then that's fine. And the reality is, you think about this entire interaction, if they're bored after the first 10 or 20 seconds, she's got bigger problems. And they're probably not the right person to help her as well, right? So the architecture, by opening up with the idea, you're actually, in essence, encouraging somebody to continue listening. And so I sit here, you know, I get a lot of people who are like, well, I just need my lean in, or I need my pithy one-liner. We live in a world where we should be way more than labels. And you think about relationships and the stories we tell, we should do a better job of actually telling a story about who we are, because it actually makes, I mean, we saw the difference. It actually makes people want to have a deeper conversation with you. And you think about the whole idea of the power of humans and what actually makes us amazing. It's actually this ability to share ideas. So did it need tightening up and editing? Absolutely. And I probably would if this wasn't a demo situation. But should you limit yourself? Like, should you go on for 20 minutes? No. But should you limit yourself by it needs to be 60 seconds? I don't think so either.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else? Do we have anything else, Kylie?
I have a
Not
question.
in the chat, nope.
Oh, we have a Suji, I think, is, have I got your name right? I hear you.
That's correct. My camera is broken, not working for whatever reason, so sorry about that.
That's okay.
So I guess my question was how, you know, we talked a lot about how do you describe yourself, how do you tell other people about you, but part of the problem with, you know, you not being in a room where the decisions are being made is that you're reliant on hopefully your manager or a friend or whoever, a mentor, to speak for you and say she's awesome, she does this, she does that. I guess I was wondering, do you have any advice? How do you get them to pick up the language, the kind of language that you're using?
That's a great question. So yes, so step one, because if you know who is having conversations about you and you're in the room that you're not in, which for all of us is our boss, you should be having that first step of going out and saying like, well, what is it you say about me in a room that you're not in? Although I'm not sure I'd actually phrase it that way. I'd say, you know, how do you describe why I'm uniquely valuable? Do that market research step first and explain to them why. Like, have that conversation, because it's going to give you a benchmark on what it is they're saying today. Then as you go through the process, so you're going to do the market research step first with hopefully more than one person. Then you're going to say, okay, based on the research I've done, and my guess is you're all good at that, here is what I now want people to say about me. Then go back to the people that you originally surveyed and say, hey, I did a little homework and I have now created a new way of talking about myself. And I would like to, and this is a super pro tip, I would like to practice it with you first because you have already given me insight. And I say the word practice because one, the first time you say it, you are going to sound it's a little weird and it's a little hard to get the words put together. It also, when you say practice, is not asking for feedback. It's just asking for an opportunity. And when you are being your most vulnerable, you don't actually want somebody to go, oh, that was terrible, because it would make you feel bad. Although we kind of did that with Jolene. So you say practice, then you say your sentence. They are probably going to go, whoa, that was a lot. Oh my God. And by the way, you're also this and this and this and this and this. Fantastic. You go, thank you very much. I really appreciate your feedback. But I have one question for you. It's my favorite question, by the way. What did you hear? And when you ask the question, what did you hear? Two things happen. One, the person that you've just said the language to is going to give you feedback on what actually landed on that question. So if I was I'm going to do this real quick with you. So when I did Jolene's secondary introduction, well, actually the other question is, what do you remember? Like, what did you hear? What words stuck out to you in Jolene's presentation or in her introduction?
In her introduction, it was like, I'm trying to do something, but I'm not quite there. I'm inexperienced. I felt like that was what came across. In the
first version or the second version?
In her, yeah, when she spoke.
Okay, and what came across in the second one?
In the second one, it was, hey, I can kind of do it all. I can look at the details. I can look at the big picture.
Okay.
I can put this together for you.
Okay, so I hope you will see the difference in what she heard from the two stories. And now, Jolene, what would somebody say about you in a room that you were not in? It happens that fast, and the difference can be that dramatic. So asking somebody, what did you hear, is a really great way. The bonus point of asking the question, what did you hear, is, Suji, my guess is you will now never forget, Jolene, because you've actually said the words out loud. I'm sure lots of you are familiar with the forgetting curve and how we forget things over time. The best way to remember something is to say it out loud. And by getting your boss, your mentor, your sponsors, your potentialists, whoever, to actually say why you are awesome out loud, they are going to remember how to say the words. Again, that's that frequency idea. And so that the next time that they're in a room, they will actually remember what it is they've said. Now, if they come back and say, well, I heard, and they come out with something crazy, you can say, whoa, that's not what I wanted you to say. I actually wanted you to talk about something else, and you can adjust your language as you go. Super pro tip on that as well. If you really have somebody who is critical in the creating of opportunities for you in the future, text them, email them, WhatsApp them, whatever your tool of choice is, about 48 to 72 hours after you've shared your language, and say, hey, quick question. You know that weird thing I did the other day? What is it you remember? And whatever comes back in that answer is going to be your lean in. It's going to be that really short, this is the thing that I remember. And it's doing that repeatedly over time that'll start to create actually the brand that you want. Now, we didn't talk about this, but only because you're all still listening. I do also want to share with you that this is for this period of time. We all live and work in a country where you can redefine who you are and own who you are all the time. It's kind of amazing. I'm actually a first generation, I'm an immigrant to this country, and this doesn't exist anywhere else in the world, at least not at this level. And I think it's amazing. I could have literally gotten in this call and said, I've decided to become a plastic surgeon. People might be like, that's a little weird, but okay, you go. It's awesome. But you have, as Jolene is, the ability to transform who you are and rebrand yourself. And when I think about who is the you at the end of the day, I absolutely believe that there are parts of you that are really solid and immovable. They're usually like, if you go through some of our program, we ask you a question like, what were you really great at when you were 8? I don't know about the rest of you, but my 8-year-old self is still raging fantastically inside me. That person is consistent over time, but the who I wanted to be over time and who I wanted to be tomorrow has evolved and has changed. And that's true for everybody, because what we all should be optimizing for in our career is not just the up and to the right. It's actually this beautiful moment when your career feels like an adventure. And those moments are when your confidence and expertise about what you are doing and what value you can add to the table is perfectly balanced with your excitement and curiosity about what it is you want to learn. And so step one in creating that beautiful balance for yourself and actually finding that moment of your career adventure is actually figuring out, who is this person? Who is the confident, experienced person that you're bringing to the table, so that you can make space for the excitement and curiosity of the future. And anybody who's been on a team knows that when that beautiful moment is there for both you and for the rest of your team, that's when the magic starts happening. That's when teams really start to explode. That's when real innovation happens, because those two people, these two parts of your character that we all have, don't come with ego, they come with confidence. Don't come with closed-mindedness, they come with curiosity. And that's when I really start to see this whole idea of the future of work taking off and really tapping into what is amazing and beautiful about humans and what they bring to the table. Ooh, I got super ranty there for a second. I have a big mountain we're trying to climb. Last quick questions before we let everybody out. I'm loving that you guys are all still on. Thank you. I'm considering that this is a thumb up on the presentation. Kylie, do we have anything else?
No, not in the chat.
We're all good. Awesome. Well, so follow up on this. I know Kylie has dropped all sorts of chats to the link to the live shows. We'd love to see you there. There's also links to the program we have. If you're like, oh my God, I want Joanna to create my language for you. The Value Adventure absolutely does that for you, because I get that it is really hard to do, and we take you through that experience. The Value Adventure also includes private group coaching every Friday morning. So anybody who's going through it, we do sessions with that as well. You get lots more one-on-one attention through that. It's super fun. Please connect with us as we are absolutely trying to push the boulder up the hill of creating a more human-centered future of work, where who we are and the value and the vision of our future is actually not only known but celebrated, because we think that's the direction we should be heading in this new working world, and we think it's going to be awesome. So thank you all for coming. Ahu, thank you so much for inviting me. I really enjoyed it. We'll be sending out a follow-up to everybody who registered with a link again to the video if you want to do any rewatching of it, and links to all of the links that we've shared throughout this. Thank you again, and have an awesome rest of your day. Bye-bye, folks.